Hey everyone, it's time to review another self-pub book, and that book is The Broken Heart of Arelium, Book 1 of the War of the 12 by Alex Robbins. This is a fast-paced, plot-heavy fantasy novel, and it is very short. And when I say short, I mean it's only a little bit longer than a novella. So you kind of have to temper your expectations a bit. There's only so much you can pull off in 200 pages. The setting for this book is that humans were once at war with these creatures that lived underneath the surface of the earth. And the humans at the time were just a bunch of individual clans, and they were basically just getting their butts kicked. Until one day, these 12 mysterious knights showed up. No one knew who they were or where they were from, but they united the human clans, taught them how to fight, and eventually led the humans to victory, driving the monsters back into the pits that they came from. The 12 knights each went on to build their own temple and train their own followers that would eventually become known as Knights of the 12. Each of the 12 knights, in addition to being an excellent fighter, had some other specialty. For example, the 4th knight was a master builder, and one of the things he did was build a wall around all of the pits so that the greylings or the monsters couldn't get back out. Guards were then stationed on these walls, and an alarm system was created in case the greylings ever tried to attack again. The book opens up with a guardsman named Reid, who has been serving on the guard for a couple decades and is bored out of his mind. This being a fantasy novel, naturally his life is soon going to become much less boring, and he's going to miss the good old days when he was safe and sitting around with nothing to do. I'm going to start off by saying that it is going to seem like my review is almost entirely negative, but that is not the case. I did enjoy reading this book, but the part I liked the most was the plot, and I can't really talk anymore about the plot without giving away spoilers. So no matter how negative this review may seem, keep in mind that I did enjoy the book, and I do plan on continuing with the series. So now, onto the critical part of my review. The most glaring weakness to this book was all of the info dumps. Pretty much all of the world building was done through monologues instead of weaving it into the story. You have one character give a monologue about the history of the 12, and then later on he gives a monologue about the magic of the world and how the magic works. You even have the bad guy in this book giving a monologue about why he's the bad guy and what his motivations are. It's the classic, "Now that you're about to die, I can reveal my entire plan to you" type of speech. Circling back to the monologue about how the magic works, that monologue doesn't happen until after you've seen magic used for the first time to get the characters out of a sticky situation. I don't believe the existence of magic is mentioned or even referenced in any way prior to the characters magicking their way out of a situation. I tend to prefer hard magic systems because as a reader, you can see how and when magic can be used to solve a problem. Soft magic systems risk being whatever the author needs it to be at any given time. It's not always the case, but it's a risk. In this book, it was even worse than that. It's not that it's necessarily a soft magic system, it's that you didn't even know magic existed until it was used to solve a problem. The character work also wasn't great. I think the pacing was too fast and too focused on plot to give the characters any kind of depth. The dialogue between characters didn't feel natural, but I think that was because of all the info dumps. It's not typical when you're having a conversation with someone that they would just go on a 2-page monologue. Usually there's more back and forth between characters. And then going back to the pacing was too quick, relationships between characters became too intimate too quickly. There's a couple characters that travel together for a few days and afterwards they're best friends. And then there's 2 more characters that immediately fall in love, and one of them turns against a lifelong friend because of this new friendship. They just grew too close together too quickly with no reasoning for them to be that close other than it helped serve the plot. And then finally, there's a main POV where she doesn't really do much in the book. she's mostly a witness to events happening, or even worse than that, she's just there to hear a conversation about things that have happened. She wasn't even there when they happened. One part of the writing I did really like was his ability to write action scenes. I felt the battle sequences were really well done. However, because of his strength in writing action scenes, I'm really disappointed that the reader didn't get to ride along for one of the major battles in the book. Instead, you hear about the battle as an info dump from a potentially fatally wounded soldier. It's like in Way of Kings if instead of riding along when Kaladin swears the second ideal, you hear it told from a Parshendi. It's just not the same emotional impact. Overall, I gave this 3 stars, mainly because of how much I enjoyed the premise of this book. There are certainly areas for improvement, and I'm really hoping to see him improve as an author throughout the series. On my rating system out of 100, The Broken Heart of Arelium scored a 61, which is just below Stormfront, Book 1 of the Dresden Files. In a lot of ways, it makes sense that The Broken Heart of Arelium scored closer to Stormfront than it did any other book, because both books are really short books at the start of a fantasy series. And it's just difficult to do all of the world building and character work and just everything that needs to go into the start of a fantasy series when you're working with only about 200 pages. Hopefully this series can keep getting better book after book, similar to how Dresden generally got better one book after the next. And finally, as far as family road trip potential for the audiobook, I don't recall there being anything in this book I wouldn't necessarily want a kid to hear, but at the same time, I don't think this is a book that would keep a kid's attention during a road trip, so I don't recommend it, but I don't think you would regret it if a kid was to listen to this book. So that wraps up my review. Again, this is a short book, so I do hope you pick it up and at least give it a chance, and if you do, let me know. And until next time, bye.